I think as we talk about like extracurriculars, you learn so much from it. So you learn to be a good teammate. You learn dedication. But I think one of the best things you learn are failure and resilience. And I think that segues us nicely into what we're going to talk about next.
The like low stakes failures that we've talked about before.
Why are resilience and failure so critical for middle school students to learn? And how do they change the way their academic participation might look? So like, why do they need to learn them? But because of this new, like, maybe fear of failure, what does that look like in the classroom? So if I'm seeing a kid and they have not experienced enough low stakes failure, what might they look like in front of me as a teacher?
It could be an identity crisis. So, and like that sounds dramatic, but really like that could be it. So, a kid who has up through elementary school always been told they're capable, always been told they can do it, and then always done it, never actually struggled, never been taught to identify with struggle, identify with failure as part of the process, but instead they've been taught to identify with, oh, you did it, oh, you're so capable, oh, you can do anything, oh, you did it again. When a kid, like, because we become what people tell us we are.
Right.
And if we have always been told, you can do it, you did it, you can do it. Oh, look, you did that so easy. Oh, look, you did it your first try. Oh my gosh, you got that on your second try. If a kid is just being fed into their identity and the way they look at themselves, that I am always capable, I succeed quickly, things are easy for me, then when a struggle comes around, as it should,
because we're humans,
and school should be hard, then when a struggle comes around or even failure comes around, now the kid is not just like, oh, well, okay, what do I do to succeed here? Like, what do I need to do? What information do I need from this failure to move past it? The kid is then like, I am no longer capable. I am now a failure. I didn't succeed on my first try. I didn't succeed on my second try. And now I must be a loser. I must be an idiot. So like, it can really be like an identity crisis. So like, you know, we want our kids to feel like they're capable. We want our kids to feel successful, like they can do things, but not at the expense of them understanding that, like, it sounds so cliche to say these days, like, failure is normal. Failure is good. Failure is just like part of the process. Failure is not any part of your identity. Failure is simply information about what to do next. And like, if kids aren't taught that and modeled it, then when they finally experience it, it could be like a total identity crisis. Like when you went to college and you were finally challenged for the first time and you're like, and then everything just exploded.
I failed immediately. It was so bad. I had all of my classes were on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I had 4 classes all on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I didn't have any classes on Tuesday, Thursday. And my first Monday, Wednesday, Friday class was calculus. And my teacher had like a super thick accent. And I have hearing problems. So I couldn't like always understand what he said. And especially if he wasn't facing us, I definitely couldn't understand. So I had a hard time there. And then I went immediately to another class where my teacher had had a massive stroke 10 years before and half of his face was paralyzed. And he came in, he turned around, he talked at the board and just wrote on it while he talked. And I couldn't understand anything he said either. And I couldn't read his handwriting. And I just had no idea what was going on in either of those classes. And it was miserable. And it made me feel like I was like, well, I'm not good at college. I'm not smart anymore. Like, I was smart in high school, but I'm not smart here. It turns out I'm smart everywhere. I just wasn't in an environment that I was set up to succeed in because I was missing a lot of these critical skills.
It's almost like it's almost like when it comes to middle school, it's more important to be able to cope with difficult math than it is to be able to do difficult math.
I would say that's 100% true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's more important to be able to cope when things get hard than just being able to do it.
Right. So I guess advice for parents, families, loved ones. If your child is that kid who is doing their whole math workbook in like the first month of school because they're bored, you find something that's hard for them so that they learn how to persevere through it. Because if they don't learn what to do when something is hard, when they get older and something is hard for the first time, it will be catastrophic for them.
Yes. Yeah. It's important that kids feel like they're capable, but you don't want to ingrain in a kid's identity like I can do everything and I succeed immediately. So there's a lot more to unpack with the whole like resilience and failure and like why it's so critical to have a healthy coping mechanism to deal with failure and to be resilient in middle school, because like those 4 buckets that make adolescence such a perfect storm, they all impact the way we experience failure and need to cope. And it's like kind of a lot to unpack, but okay. If we look at, so let's unpack the egocentric mind first. So adolescents have to them, it is a very real feeling. Is it accurate? No. But is it real to them?
Absolutely.
100%.
I felt it.
So like they truly feel in their 11, 13, 14, 15-year-old mind that everyone is looking at me, everyone is judging me, everybody is criticizing me, everybody cares about everything that I do. They don't. But they feel that way, and that feeling is real. So as an adult, you can't just tell them, no, they don't. Like, stop thinking like that. Like, you have to put yourself in their shoes. They feel like that. All you can do is help them understand, like, you 100% feel like this, but try to reassure yourself that everybody else is also feeling that. And like, they're not staring at you, and just help them work with understanding that like this feeling is 100% real, but it is not actually accurate in reality. And eventually their brain will catch up and be able to tell them that. So imagine that egocentric mind in middle school, which is a stage they didn't ask to be on. And now they're being asked to perform academically, and their little egocentric minds are afraid of making any mistake, because any mistake I make, if I stutter through this sentence, all my friends are going to look at me. They're all going to be like, they can't read. And then I'm going to be judged, and then I'm going to be ostracized from my peer group. And of course, we know that like that is adolescent. It is the worst thing that can happen to a kid. So like experiencing failure, public failure on a stage you didn't want to be on, when your brain is telling you that everyone is watching you, and then the consequence for that is my peers are going to reject me. I'm going to be ostracized. Like, that is literally everything going wrong.
Right.
So that's why kids don't want to participate in class.
And that's why they won't raise their hands.
That's why a kid who is totally academically competent and able, because that is the stake on the table, they're going to be like, oh, no, thank you. I'm not going to raise my hand and risk being wrong in front of my peers, and then my peers are going to judge me and reject me, and I'll be ostracized forever. I am not going to raise my hand and volunteer. And it all comes down to like, some adults telling that kid that it's okay to be wrong. Being wrong is like part of the process. And like, you feel like everybody's watching you, you feel like everybody's judging you, but try to get around that, because like, try to not let that emotion control your actions, because they're all thinking the same thing.
I think it's that feeling. So like for our teachers, I think this really speaks to like, what can you do as an educator, as someone who cultivates a vibe in a classroom. It is so important to really early on build those relationships with your students, support building those relationships between your students and create and cultivate a culture where failure is celebrated and we use it as an opportunity to learn and move forward. And you have to do that throughout your whole school. Like, this isn't one teacher. Like, you can't be the magical Miss Frizzle of the good classroom. Like, everybody needs to do this to help build up our students.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to recognize how very difficult it is, because, like, understanding that the kids in front of you are literally wired to do the exact opposite. They are wired to be self-conscious. They are wired to be afraid of failure. They are wired to have this incredibly desperate need to belong at any cost. They will do anything to belong. And it is, like, for teachers kind of like swimming upstream, because, like, we're really trying to instill these values in our classroom and these habits in our classroom and these mindsets in our classroom. And during a stage in life where, like, the young people in front of us, their brains are literally wired to do the opposite. Mm-hmm. And we have to, in the most gentle, loving, accepting way possible, tell them,
which is a challenge.
Tell them that they're wrong.
Because they are very difficult.
Because
so you're trying to be like Mary Poppins, and they're like
gremlins.
Maybe like gremlins, not like the Mogwais before they eat after midnight. No, the other ones.
Yeah. So it's a really hard task, which is why it's important for parents to know, like, what they can do to help instill resilience, how to cope with failure in the right way, how to view failure in a healthy way,